Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fourth joint meeting of our Council and the Youth Council. This year we welcome new Youth Council members following elections held last November. This meeting is being live streamed and will be made available on the Council website for public viewing. Could I remind councillors and youth councillors to follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting, writing S or speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute rather than raising your hand. If you're in the hall, you can do this on your iPhone or iPad. Those in the room without access to Microsoft Teams chat, if you wish to speak, please catch the attention of Nick Evans, who will enter into the chat. That's Nick Evans over in the corner there, waving his arms. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please enter leave in the Teams function, in the chat function on Teams, and when you return, please write join in the Teams chat function. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative recommendation. I will call a comfort break around 12 noon prior to item 10, and we will actually call the comfort break rather than in previous occasions where we've actually had the comfort break when we were meant to be moving to the rooms where the breakout sessions were, and most of the elected members seem to get lost, myself included. So we've addressed that problem. Members may notice that when calling members to speak, I'll try to refer to them formally and using their title. Councillor, it says here Councillor Smith, we've not got one of them, I don't think. So that is clear who councillors and who the officers are. Unfortunately, I've had too many years of just addressing people by their name or their first name, but I'll try my best to do it properly to keep everyone happy that's watching online. Mark, could you please provide us with some housekeeping information for the venue here at the bridge for anyone who may be unfamiliar?
Thanks, Convener. So the housekeeping arrangements for the meeting is that if the fire alarm goes, there is no test plan, so it is a real alarm, and everyone has to evacuate the building in an orderly fashion, please, and meet at the car park outside where you would have come in, so where we'll do a roll call. For the toilets within the building, they are gender-neutral toilets, and they can be accessed down the right-hand side corridor as you come in the front door, so just to that side there. And any other points where people are unsure whether they're going in the building, any of the staff, the youth work staff wearing the blue hoodies or T-shirts will be able to assist members to get to the relevant rooms where they need to be.
Thank you, Mark. To assist with the meeting, I think it would be helpful to introduce who is present at the top table. I am Councillor Malcolm Johnston. I have light hair, wear glasses, and I have a dark blue jacket. I'm a convener of Dumfries and Galloway Council, and joining me is Councillor Gail McGregor, Deputy Convener of Dumfries and Galloway Council, Finlay Anderson, Chair of the Youth Council, Alistair Marshall, Vice Chair of the Youth Council, Jackie Holland, Governance and Assurance Manager, Don Roberts, Chief Executive, and Mark Malloy, Service Manager, Young People. This meeting will be co-chaired by the Youth Council Chair, Finlay, and myself. Before we move to the start of the agenda, most of us will have heard the sad news that John Charteris, a former elected member for Locker Ward, passed away in December. And some of you will have been on the council with John, who served as a member for Dumfries and Galloway Council from 2007 to 2012, and again from 2017 to 2022. John was active in the community, particularly with the Armed Forces as a retired Lieutenant Colonel. It is my understanding that a service of thanksgiving will be held, and I believe it's the 16th of March at 2 p.m. at the Crichton. And we will keep everyone informed. Condolences have been passed on to the family, and can I invite Councillor Bell to say a few words?
Thanks, Convener. John and I served a couple of years in the council, 2 terms in the council. We both held the right-wing views as the same as myself. John was a robust countryman, a soldier, and was a member of a dying breed. Both John and myself were particularly keen on countryside sports, especially running our own shoots, and John was a regular visitor to my shoot. He also was keen in pigeon fancing as well, which a lot of people wouldn't know about. He's also keen on the sheep on the farm, and he's also kept a number of beehives as well. He loves speaking from people from all walks of life. As you know, he could drink most people under the table, and routinely did. In the Country Life magazine recently, it says, it leaves Dumfries a soberer, more politically correct place, and we're poorer for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Now we have some excellent achievements to celebrate. First, the Youth Council elections took place in November and December, with 3,659 young people turning out to have their say at local polling places. 58 candidates stood for election, and I would like to extend my congratulations to all who ran as a candidate, as well as those in the room with us and online who were successful in their campaign efforts. Secondly, the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Awards were held in November 2023, with finalists selected from across Dumfries and Galloway being recognised for their achievements across 8 key categories, including sport, equality, volunteering, young enterprise and business, change making and culture, arts and entertainment. Winners included Matilda Brockley, a 15-year-old incredibly hard-working and dedicated young person who competed in the triple jump at Cardiff International Sports Campus against teams from across the UK, where she secured gold for Scotland. Maeve Reekie, an exceptional young person who started her first business at just 16 years old, offering makeup lessons. In just 6 years, Maeve has gone from working out of her bedroom to co-owning a beauty salon and employing 6 other up-and-coming beauty therapists. And Mia Gray, a hard-working volunteer who has committed hundreds of hours over the last year supporting the work of organisations in Upper Nithsdale and regional youth projects, including Kellerholm and Kirkconnell Beaver Scouts, 10,000 Voices, Young Women's Network, and being a young leader at Kellerholm Youth Group every week. I would like to extend my congratulations to all the finalists and winners who were recognised through the Youth Awards. Thirdly, Anne-Marie Coulter from Summerhill Community Centre was recognised in the New Year's Honours List and awarded an MBE for services to her community in Dumfries. Anne-Marie has been active in her community for decades, supporting hundreds of young people to get involved in youth and community work through volunteering and encouraging them to have a positive impact on their community. It's brilliant to see local efforts recognised nationally. And last but not least, 3 Dumfries colours are bringing home a gold medal after a thrilling comeback victory in the final of the Winter Youth Olympics in Gangwon, South Korea. Logan Carson, Archie Hislop, Tia Laurie, all from Dumfries, and Hamilton's Holly Burke made up the Team GB team, which clinched gold after beating Denmark 7-5 following an extra end. It's absolutely amazing what the team have achieved, along with their Team GB coach, David Aitken. We have invited Logan, Archie, Tia and Holly along today, and I'm pleased to be able to present each of them with a Galloway Glass Award. I will invite Logan to say a few words afterwards, but I'm sure you'll now join me in a round of applause for our young Olympians on an amazing achievement. So now I'd like to invite the young curlers up to receive their award. Thank you. I think we could all agree that it's an absolutely fantastic achievement, and I find it incredible the strength and depth of curling throughout Dumfries and Galloway. It's absolutely fantastic. So, Logan, would you like to say a few words?
First of all, I'd like to thank the Dumfries and Galloway Council for inviting us today and giving us these prizes. It's great to see so many people showing their appreciation for our achievement. I think that having 3 out of the 4 athletes from this area is something that probably won't happen again for a while. So thanks for making it the big deal that it is. Thank you.
Councillor Drysdale.
Thanks very much, Chair. It's rather remiss of me, everyone in the room, as I have forgotten to get in touch with Dawn and yourself, Malcolm, and yourself, Vice Chair and Convener, because I wanted to acknowledge the MBE received by Dr. Pauline Brown, who's a nurse practitioner in Castle Douglas, so I didn't want that to go unnoticed. Her services to the local community in Castle Douglas and the Stewartry area have been absolutely unbelievable, so also congratulations to her if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drysdale. It never fails to amaze me. Dumfries and Galloway is, such a fantastic place for achievements throughout the whole community, and I think it's only right that we recognise that when we can. So thank you very much. The reports on the agenda today are testament to the hard work of all past and present youth councillors, and I think it is fair to say that leadership in expressing the voice of young people has been particularly important over the last year. So your role has been crucial. When we come to item 10 on the agenda, this will require members to break into committee-themed discussion groups. Smoking and vaping will convene in F22 on the first floor. That's not actually smoking and vaping will convene. I think a discussion regarding smoking and vaping. Diet and body image will convene in G31, which is on the ground floor. Mental health will convene in G60 on the ground floor. Bullying will be held online. That's inappropriate as well. Bullying will not be held online via Microsoft Teams, but a discussion around bullying will. Remaining in this hall, G59, and money, budgeting and cost of living will convene in G9 on the ground floor. These sessions will be facilitated by a ward manager or officer and youth issue support worker and will be overseen by the relevant director. Could I now invite Alistair Marshall to say a few words?
Thank you, Convener. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 4th joint meeting of Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council and Dumfries and Galloway Council. So I'm Alistair Marshall. I'm the outgoing member of the Scottish Youth Parliament for Galloway and West Dumfries and a former Vice Chair of the Youth Council. So firstly, just to make today's meeting as accessible as possible, we would ask that before you make your first contribution, you share a short visual description of yourself. This is really important to people who may be visually impaired, or particularly those who are neurodivergent, who find it difficult to pinpoint where sound comes from in a room. So I have short brown hair and I'm wearing a white t-shirt with the Youth Council logo on it. So it's really exciting to be here today to share our ideas, listen to others' experiences, agree some actions and have some fun along the way. It's also really exciting that this is the first joint meeting after the passing of the principles of the UNCRC into Scots law, and this is Article 12, the right to be heard and taken seriously in action. And on behalf of the Youth Council, we're so grateful to have this opportunity to meet with you decision makers to share the views of the young people we represent. The Youth Council has done some fantastic work since we came together in a joint meeting last, which Riley, Louise and Max will tell us more about later on. But we would all like to thank elected members for their continued support that you've all shown to the Youth Council since our formation 5 years ago this April. So I'm not going to rattle on for too much longer. So I'd just like to finish by encouraging everyone to fully embrace the day, listen to each other and learn from each other. We all have unique and valuable experiences and views, and it's going to be great to see what actions you come up with in your workshop sessions later today, so thank you.
Thank you, Alistair. So we'll now move on to the agenda. Item 1, sederunt and apologies for Dumfries and Galloway Council. Jackie, can you provide the sederunt and any apologies, please, for Dumfries and Galloway Council members?
Yes, thank you, Convener, and good morning, members. I confirm we have received apologies today from Councillors Dempster, Councillor Dryborough, Councillor Slater, Councillor Stevenson and Councillor Waters. We have 20 members present in the hall and we have 13 members present on the Teams platform. Members not present at the start of the meeting today are Councillor Blake, Councillor Dougie Campbell, Councillor Hagman, Councillor Marshall and Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Jackie. Item 2, sediment apologies for the Youth Council. There's an apology for Councillor Blake. Yes. There should be an apology for Councillor Blake. Pass over to Finlay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Finlay Anderson. I've got... Sorry.
Councillor Little.
Thank you, Convener. Councillor Little, dark hair, black and white spotted jacket, and the ever-present red lipstick. It's just to say that Councillor Hagman will be in later. She is in a meeting at Scottish Government. So.
Thank you, Finlay.
Thank you, Convener. So my name is Finlay Anderson. I've got short brown hair. I've got on a black Youth Council hoodie, and I also use glasses. And I'd just like to hand over to Mark to provide the Ceridon and any apologies, please, for members of Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council. Thank you.
Thanks, Finlay. We've got 5 apologies for the Youth Council, with Youth Councillor Callendar, Friel, Kirkpatrick, Scott and Upson. So we're joined by 27 members in person at the hall and 1 online.
Thank you, Mark. Now move on to declarations of interest for the Dumfries and Galloway Council. Do any council members have a declaration of interest they wish to make? No, thank you. And now again pass off to Finlay to declaration of interest for Youth Council.
Thank you. Do any members of the Youth Council have any declarations of interest to make? Thank you.
Thank you. Now to the minutes of the meeting of 3rd of November 2022. This minute was approved by the Dumfries and Galloway Council on 15th December 2022 and the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council on 22nd of November 2022. So it is only here for noting. Are we happy to note? Yeah. Thank you. Item 6. Purpose and work of the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council, November 2022 to January 2024. Report by Interim Head of Community Services. This report requests that members agree to receive a presentation from the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council detailing the work of the Youth Council since November 2022. Can we agree to receive the presentation? Thank you. This presentation will be by Riley True, Matt Yukon and Louise Church. So could I now hand over to them?
Thank you, Convener. I'm Louise Church. I have blonde hair up in a ponytail and I'm wearing a black Youth Council hoodie. I'm Louise Church, newly elected member for the Scottish Youth Parliament for Galloway and West Dumfries. I'm joined by Max Hugan, Ward Councillor for Beds Galloway and Whiteton West Ward, and Riley True, Ward Councillor for Locher Ward.
I'm Riley True. I've got black hair and I'm wearing a black Youth Council jumper. Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council was established on the 1st of April 2019 and is an elected organisation of young people aged 12 to 25 who live, work and study in Dumfries and Galloway. We're now in our 3rd term of the Youth Council, with the most recent elections finishing in December 2023. There are 3 different types of representatives on the Youth Council. The first is nominated youth councillors, who are elected to represent seldom heard young people across the region. Ward youth councillors, who are elected to represent people who live, work and study in their ward area. And members of the Scottish Youth Parliament, elected to represent young people who live, work and study in the Scottish parliamentary constituency they represent at a national level. Back in 2018, as part of the Scottish Government's themed Year of Young People, Dumfries and Galloway agreed their first youth participation and engagement strategy, which outlined a new way of young people having their voices heard through the Youth Council. This was refreshed at the last joint meeting in November 2022, with Dumfries and Galloway Council making 4 key commitments within the strategy. The first, to ensure young people have the skills, ability and confidence to speak out, to talk with, listen to and value young people, to make sure that young people have the opportunities and are given choices actively and meaningful to get involved in decisions that affect their lives. And finally, to act on the views of young people by reviewing and changing services as required. The previous term of the Youth Council ran from November 2021 to 2023. And some of the big highlights of this time has included representing Dumfries and Galloway at a local, regional, national and international level, including conferences and exchanges to Abu Dhabi and Germany. Involvement in the Summer of Play funding by working with young people to set funding criteria back in 2021, and also as members of the funding panel responsible for distributing the money to local projects, organisations and services working with young people. Development of a regional pupil council charter, which aims to make sure students have the chance to influence decisions within their school about things such as the cost of the school day and anti-bullying approaches. Increasing representation of young people through area committees and education skills and learning committee. And as we'll hear in the first report today, highlights also have included the actions that have been implemented or agreed as a result of the last joint meeting, which took place in November 2022, including automatic enrolment for free bus travel, enhanced mental health training for probationary teachers, and free leisure activities for young people throughout D&G.
I'm Max. I've got short, dark hair and wearing a hoodie with a Youth Council logo on it. The last election saw 58 candidates on the ballot and 31 Youth Council members elected following a phase of candidate training and campaigning. Young people from across Dumfries and Galloway were campaigning to be elected throughout October and November before the vote began on Wednesday the 22nd of November. The vote was open until Saturday the 2nd of November, with over 3,600 young people aged 12 to 25 going out to polling stations in their local area through schools, colleges, youth groups to vote. Third sector organisations, including the Young Carers Project and LGBT Youth Scotland, also supported the voting for nominated youth councillors through their groups. To become a confirmed candidate, we needed to take part in an induction and campaign training and create a candidate profile to tell voters why we wanted to be elected. On Tuesday the 5th of December, the results event took place at Oasis Youth Centre. Since being elected in December, we've come together in our local area to meet one another before Christmas and taken part in 2 online sessions and a regional orientation. For many members of the Youth Council, January has been taken up with coursework, deadlines and prelims and getting to grips with our new role. All roles on the Youth Council are voluntary for 3 hours per week. This week, the Youth Council will be taking part in a residential to develop our priorities over the term ahead, using 10,000 Voices findings, the Youth Matters report and engagement findings from the Rights report to identify and take forward projects. This month will also see us elect a new leadership group for the new year ahead.
This is our 4th joint meeting between Dumfries and Galloway Council and the Youth Council and follows meetings held in February 2020, September 2021 and November 2022. The purpose of the joint meeting is to bring together young people and local decision makers to have discussions and agree to progress some key actions that would benefit young people throughout the region. Today we are going to have the opportunity to consider the progress made against the joint action plan created at the last meeting and participate in workshops themed around the top 5 issues identified within 1,000 Voices. The previous joint action plan has seen 1. Creations of the Youth Council Charter and Agreement on provisional of youth councils across all learning communities. 2. Funding for all secondary schools to go through their LGBT charter mark. 3. Automatic enrolment introduced for under 23s free bus travel. 4. The development of Youth Council Inquiry Service. And 5. Securing all dedicated youth spaces in Newtonshire. Our goal today is to discuss and agree tangible measures, actions and improve the experiences of young people in our region over the next year relevant to mental health, smoking and vaping, the cost of living, diet and body image and bullying. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I will open the meeting up to debate and discussion. Mark Malloy is present to assist with any operational questions. Is there anyone with any questions or comments to make? Councillor Drysdale.
Thanks very much. I'm Councillor Pauline Drysdale, Crockett Ford and Castle Douglas Ward. Hello everyone, it's good to see you today and congratulations to the curling team. Just amazing, fantastic for the region. I just wanted to ask all of you today, and I don't know if you're able to answer this question, but my daughter was schooled at Castle Douglas and she is currently in Australia working just now, and she happened to go out meet up with a gentleman who is managing social media out in Australia for people within schools. And she found it hugely interesting and hugely motivational, because what this gentleman does is he meets young people, goes into schools with teams of people and helps them to control their social media channels. Now, I am an Instagram user. I love seeing where people go and where people travel. I love the outdoors, I love exercise, and I love life. I'm very fortunate. So I actually control my own social media page because I don't want to see the drivel that is sent to me on Botox and middle-aged nutrient programs and things. So my daughter's taught me how to control my social media page, so I get to see the things I want to see and not the stuff that's rammed, down our throats with regards to how we should be and how we should look and how we should act. So I just wondered if any of you have heard about those sorts of programs and if it's spoken in schools, to yourselves, because it certainly would help you all with, I think, image and body image and how we're supposed to be, which is all really a bit of nonsense in my mind. So is there anything in schools, and potentially perhaps I could speak with the education department going forward and we could possibly look at doing that in schools, because I think mental health is hugely important and I find social media quite damaging to young people. So just anyone with any thoughts on that would be great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Drysdale. I think that will form part of the discussion in the breakout groups. Mark, have you got anything you want to add to that?
I think, Convener, and thanks for the question, Councillor Drysdale, that there's a number of pieces of work happening within schools and in community settings to support young people to be aware around how they can keep themselves safe online and how they can, and manage their social media to make sure that it doesn't negatively impact on their mental health. And perhaps there may be some young people, some of the youth councils would maybe have some experience of how to do that themselves, but I know there is a number of programmes within schools and the community.
That's great. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you for that, Councillor Drysdale. It's a massive issue. Councillor Dorward.
Thank you, Convener. Just saying that some folk have to raise their hands because I can't use a mobile phone in here, and some people don't have mobile phones, just to attract attention, if that's okay. But just to say congratulations to everybody who's newly elected. And I was speaking to some of the youth councillors earlier when I came in, and some of them were saying how nervous they were coming into this environment. And I was saying you shouldn't be, because this is your chance to shine. And actually there's no difference between a councillor and a youth councillor, apart from perhaps the ageing process in some ways. So we're all the same here, and this is a great opportunity for you to say what you want to say so that we can listen. So go for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dorward. I'd like to echo that. I know what it's like. It can seem a bit scary sometimes with a big group of people that you don't know. So it's fair play to you all, and especially when given the presentations and things. That was a fantastic effort. There's no doubt about it. Is there any further questions or comments? Councillor Hislop.
Councillor Hislop. Fair hair going grey, places needing reseated at the top, wear specs, and I'm not so worried about my body image. I quite like my curves. I noticed that coming through this, one of the issues that we heard was you've got prelims, exams, are you getting support to get you over that? Because you've got youth council, there's a residential coming up, plus you've got to do your work to get your exams. So is there plenty of support to help you through that?
Thank you, Councillor Hislop. Mark?
Convener, if it's okay, I'll maybe just defer that to either one of the youth councillors on the floor or to Finlay or Alistair.
Finlay, you want to come in?
Thank you, Mark. Before I maybe come in, would any of the youth councillors like to come in? See that right there, Vic?
Hi, I'm Lucy Walk, the councillor for Nith Ward. I have short curly hair. I'm wearing a white youth council t-shirt and a pink hoodie. I'd say we get quite decent support. The staff have always made themselves quite clear that we are open to talk to them about anything, including exams. And they're also not very strict when it comes to exams about attendance. So I wouldn't say we have any pressure when it comes to exams. And we can also access a lot of support through school and other youth work agencies. So I say we're pretty well supported.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come in? Sky?
Hi, I'm Sky Allen. I'm one of the MSYPs for Dumfriesshire. I'm wearing a black youth council hoodie and I have long braided hair. Part of the youth council, we get to discuss our meeting hours. It's a flexible arrangement. It's a voluntary arrangement where we agree at the start of our term how often we meet and whether we meet online or not. I do personally believe that it can be a struggle for youth councillors to balance exams, but I think it's something that we work through as a council and as a group.
Thank you very much, Sky. Would anyone else like to come in? Or I'm happy to chip in. Would you like to come in?
My name is Susanna. I'm one of the ward councillors for Stringer and the Rins, and I'd just like to say that I'm not doing exams, but we do get quite a bit of support from Regan and all the other youth workers. They're really friendly and open. If we're struggling or need help with something, they're there to help us, and there's no pressure or judgment if you can't make it to a meeting. They always make sure to get an online meeting or send you an email to get you caught up with things that you've missed, so you're just not missing out, and there's no judgment if you can't make it to one or two meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your contributions there. Is that helpful, Councillor? Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Finlay. Is there any further questions? Councillor Jordan.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Councillor Jordan. I'm wearing black and I've got shoulder-length dark hair. I just wanted to ask, firstly say thank you to the Youth Council and to Mark and his team for the fabulous work that you're all doing. And I just wanted to ask about the groups that you're involving in the consultation, in the work that you're doing. Are you involving home-educated children and other groups that might be sort of on the outskirts of the community? Thank you.
Mark, do you have any knowledge about that?
Thanks, Convener, and thanks, Councillor Jordan. I think across all the work that our council does around youth participation and engagement, even wider than the Youth Council, there's always a real focus in ensuring that those within our marginalised groups and those who have got, if you like, the seldom heard voice sometimes from these smaller groups and smaller communities, whether that be young carers, young people experience, who are homeschooled, or young people who are LGBT, for example. So I think there's been an effort made, and what you can see, I think within 10,000 Voices is a really good example where there was a specific effort over a 12-month period to ensure that the voices of young people within those seldom heard groups, which it may be in different languages be called maybe protected characteristic groups, but not all of them are protected characteristics, and there's a real effort made, and I'm sure there's always more that we could do, but it is something that the service would do as a matter of course within all our work.
Thank you very much for that, Mark. And again, we've got to praise everyone involved in the 10,000 Voices work. It was a fantastic piece of work. Is there any further questions? No, we'll move to the recommendations then. Councillors are asked to 2.1 agree to receive the presentation, which we've done and duly received. 2.2, note the progress of the work of the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council as outlined in the presentation and the contribution it is making to our council strategic outcomes. Are we happy to note? Yeah. Thank you. Item 7 is the final progress report on the Joint Action Plan 2022-23, report by Interim Head of Community Services. The purpose of this report is to provide a comprehensive final update on the shared action plan for Dumfries and Galloway Council and Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council for 2022-23, for members to scrutinise the progress and agree any continuing activity. I will open up the meeting to debate. The relevant service director is present to answer any questions on the actions that relate to their directorate. So we'll open up to comment and debate. Councillor Jameson.
Thanks, Convener. I'm referring to page 29. At the top of the page, 60% of school staff to undertake SAMH. We all have mental health. This is a really important initiative, and I think it's fantastic that it's been highlighted. My recollection at the time, and short hair, wearing a green jumper. I'm a councillor for Annandale South. Apologies for that. My recollection is that the request at the time was that all teachers should undertake this training. And having spoken to the directors on this subject at that time, and again, if memory serves me correctly, there was a feeling within the directorate, quite rightly so, that there is a lot of training packages already in place, and this was just another very valuable piece of information. Just for background, I'm looking at the 10,000 voices and the mental health. If we look at that and scrutinise it over the age groups, the early age groups mental health is 5th, it rises to 3rd at secondary school, and it rises to the highest agenda point for 18 plus. That tells me that it's a growing problem. We also know that the ASN numbers has now risen not just over 30, but it's approaching 40%, which identifies this major issue of mental health, which goes from extreme mental health to just simple, I say simple, but anxiety. The final piece of stats that I would refer to is the local child poverty action plan, page 99, that I refer to often, that most of the time I'm happy at school, only 50% roughly across all levels of society can agree to that, which tells me that we have a problem with anxiety and mental health in schools, and that's no indictment on the efforts that are being made. What I would ask is that the action that's been taken is that all probationers, or the majority of probationers in schools in Dumfries and Galloway, are getting this training. I would suggest that these probationers have just left university, and they've probably had some training already, and a top-up's good. But what I would like to see is that all teachers have at least a minimum level of understanding and empathy for young people going through, particularly their teenage years, so that they leave school less anxious than they did when they started school. So my plea is to consider that we enhance mental health training for our teachers and all school staff, and probably extend that to young people themselves to understand anxiety that their friends might have that they don't totally appreciate. I've got 2 children, both at university, both in the final year. They've both had severe mental health issues. And one of the problems they had was lack of empathy from some teachers, not all. There's always teachers have got a natural empathy, but also, and I'm speaking to the young people here, is at times, my son had Asperger's, and he was only diagnosed with Asperger's in 6th year. Now, he did not know how to explain himself to his peers, never mind his teachers. So across the board, I think I'd like everybody to have a greater understanding of mental health issues don't use the word resilience to children with mental health. Just mention understanding and appreciation of the problems that they have. So with direct reference, convener, to that, the Education Committee have made good progress getting practitioners trained, but I would like to see efforts that all teachers have the requisite training and understanding have empathy for children with anxiety across all levels of anxiety. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jimison. We have Gillian Bryson, Director of Education here. Can you help us with that, Gillian?
Thank you very much, members. Good morning, members of Council and Youth Council. I've got brown hair, a green and black check jacket, and I use glasses. I'm actually just waiting for my colleague is going to get me the figures, Councillor Jimison, as to how many teachers have undertaken the training this year. This is a rolling programme, this is not new. We made the commitment to ensure that all probationary teachers undertook that programme, and that has been completed. But Scottish Mental Health, First Aid and other related programmes have been promoted through all our schools with all our staff, not just teachers, as part of the Mental Health in Schools working group. So I can get the percentage for you, and I can absolutely reassure you that that professional learning is available for all of our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Gillian. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stitt.
Thanks. Maybe no needed. Thanks, Chair. I'll make reference to page 20 in the report where under economy and resources about Wi-Fi being available, Council. But when you look at page 25, it says there have been no additional sites added since the last meeting. Has there been any work done in any of the town halls or public places, or is this still an ongoing? Because I find it quite hard to understand what's in that paragraph, no update. Because I know at the last time even the youth councils and the councillors are complaining about lack of facilities in town halls and public places.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stitt. I was actually going to, if nobody else had asked that question, I was going to ask it myself. I find it quite surprising, given it's from the last meeting was November 22, and I raised an issue with Wi-Fi at the Ryan Centre, for example, which would be very helpful. So, as Director Lorna Meakin prepared to answer.
Thanks, Convener. Lorna Meehan, Director of Economy and Resources. I've got short grey hair, I think, probably the best way to describe it, and a grey jacket on. I think in terms of the update here, just for clarification, I think it refers to, it makes reference to a report to the Economy and Resources of the Committee, Council of the Committee. There's been no progress since November when the last update was taken, so I think probably just for colleagues' clarity. The Council has entered into a new contract with a new internet and broadband provider as part of a national wide area network, and we will be rolling out public Wi-Fi to all of our buildings. And in doing so, we're also updating all of the, technically the kit in all our buildings to make sure that that is effective as possible. And that programme has been set out by the Council and is continuing on. And as you can see there, that migration has started already. And will be complete by the end of the summer. So just to give that clarity, Convener.
Thanks for that, Lorna, because personally, I've been aware of Wi-Fi being available in buildings. That's why I was rather surprised to see there was no new sites added, because my observation going to council premises and things has actually been rolled out somewhat. Councillor Marsh.
Good morning, members. Thank you, Chair. My name is Councillor Richard Marsh for Ward 2, Mid Galloway and Wigton West. I have bouncy brown messy hair. I wear glasses, currently wearing a grey hoodie and a black gilet. My question relates to page 25 of the report in regard to the action about creating dedicated youth spaces within existing council buildings in the Stewartry and Mid and Upper Nithsdale. I note on page 26, you quite clearly, as a youth council, wish to have environments that are comfortable, warm, welcoming and in good order with comfy seats, as would we. However, I did wonder why schools had been ruled out as a suitable venue to meet, because clearly finances are going to be a major issue. And if there is a lack of spaces for youth council and young people to meet, why would schools be ruled out as a possible venue? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. I think, again, is that a question for Gillian or for Lorna? Gillian, I think, is going to take it.
I would suspect, although I'm happy to be corrected, that it's the young people that indicated they would prefer not to meet in schools. Certainly young people are very, very welcome to meet in our schools, but they may not feel that that provides the ethos that they would like. I would very much like you to come to the schools and make sure the schools met your expectations. I'm happy to discuss that more fully with you.
Thank you, Gillian. Mark?
Thanks, Convener. Just to add to the point, the Director is accurate in terms of what she's saying around young people. When we're consulting with young people in each of the areas around the access to where they would want dedicated youth spaces, young people are telling us consistently that they would prefer these outside of school. And I take Councillor Marsh's point around as resources are reducing, that you know, we need to have an open and honest conversation with young people around the facilities within each area. But generally speaking, young people looking for spaces that they can access outside of school, where they, such as spaces we've got in Newton Stewart or in Lockerbie, for example. But we're still continuing dialogue with colleagues within property services who have been, really superb actually in the amount of time they've given to trying to help progress this. So it is an ongoing thing, because I'm aware of that for Upper Nissay and for Stewartry as well.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have any further questions? Yeah. Councillor McGregor.
Thank you very much, Convener. Councillor Gail McGregor. I'm Deputy Convener of Dumfries and Galloway Council and Councillor for Arndale North. Long dark hair, currently up in a bobble, wearing a burgundy dress, and I also use spectacles because I'm getting old. Just turning to page, where are we? 23, the create a taster card for young people aged 12 to 18. I see that Lee has been leading on this. When's the launch likely to happen? Because it does say launch to be marketed with support. And have we considered utilising non-council owned facilities as well? I'm very aware that we need to be utterly inclusive and look at travel. It's maybe not possible for people from my part of Dumfries and Galloway to get to Dumfries for skating lessons, but they could certainly go to Lockerbie. And I just wonder if we can come to some sort of arrangement with private facilities where if young people wish to have that access locally rather than having to travel to a main council facility, that we're able to facilitate that.
Oh, thank you. Mark, can you help?
Yeah, thanks, Convener, and thanks, Councillor McGregor. The action for that one has progressed with colleagues from leisure facilities over, it's took quite a long period to get to this point. So we're really talking that in the last month that has now got to a position where it's been agreed. So the plan is that the leisure facilities manager will come out and meet with the Youth Council next month in March to discuss how we can then promote that and actively, ensure that young people are aware of it across the region, because I think it's a really strong action which has come out, that joint action plan, and I'll certainly feed back the comments in terms of working with other providers as well.
Thank you. Riley, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Convener. I just want to go back. I hate to go back on this because Councillor Jameson covered this, but page 29 with the mental health training for teachers. It says that, I've got two questions. The first one is, it says the probationary teachers noted down their reflections. Do we have those reflections? And the second question is, we asked for this to be rolled out to at least 60%. Is that going to happen? And if not, why?
Thank you. Gillian, can you help with that?
Happy to. Certainly the reflections are all within their GTCS profile, so that would be part of the work that they would do in order to meet the standard for headship. So it was not a part, Clearly, we evaluated the programme and we've got the evaluations, but their own personal reflections are important in terms of taking on board the learning that they had from the course. We will undertake a breakdown of all of our staff who've undertaken not just the Scottish Mental Health First Aid Programme, but others, and I think it is important that we're able to report back to the 60% target. I know we have 65 teachers who have completed one specific programme this year, but we need to look at that cumulatively over the last 2 or 3 years and other forms of training that are around similar matters, but we're happy to report that back to you, Councillor True.
Thank you. Are you happy with that, Riley? Yeah. Councillor John Young.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered if we're still missing the opportunity to extract information from our school leavers. I mean, students go through our schools for something like 13 years, and then the majority leave without an exit interview. I just think the council and the education department could learn a great deal from providing a sort of anonymous online exit interview so that these students who have been through our education system can highlight what we did well, what we didn't do quite as well as we should have. And I just, in any big business, exit interviews are an important part of maintaining standards, and I feel we're missing this opportunity to ask our young people leaving our education system where we could improve or what we're doing wrong. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Gillian?
I think I should hand over to our Chief Education Officer, who's done a lot of work on pupil voice, and we would hope it wouldn't take as long as an exit interview to find out people's views on schools. But Jim, do you have any further comments?
Thanks very much indeed. My name's Jim Brown. I'm tallish. I've got short, I think mousy, going on grey hair, and I'm wearing a business suit and a multicoloured tie. Thank you for the question. I think I understand the point. Absolutely, we need to get that information, but currently we do get an awful lot of information from young people. I think the challenge here is at the different times at which young people leave school. But we certainly do, all schools do gather information about what young people intend to do moving forward. So in other words, our positive destination data. And it is heartening to see that within Dumfries and Galloway, whilst we obviously target that all of our young people are moving on to an aspirational, positive, meaningful destination, we nonetheless are, we're not there, we're at roughly 95, 96%. That is a very, very healthy and improving figure. I don't know what happened there, sorry. So I'm more than happy to take the point about why we're not doing something in a more, if you like, system-wide way, and I'll happily report back on that at a subsequent council. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Councillor Drysdale, do you want to come back in?
Thanks very much, Chair. Again, I forgot to describe myself, 5'10", blonde hair, so apologies everyone for that. I just wanted to go on the back of Councillor Marsh's points on page 26, 27 and 28. I see the report about these dedicated youth spaces was from early March last year. Can't be this year. So, you know, I think we agreed this last year that both Stewartry and Mid and Upper Nithsdale would have a dedicated youth space. And I understand that, and we have, as councillors in our own wards, been pushing for that and talking to an awful lot of people with regards to what can be taken forward. In fact, we've even delivered a sofa to a certain place, but it's still in storage. So I wondered if we could have an update, because my update in January of this year was that in particular for Stewartry and Castle Douglas, was that the Adult Resource Centre are still in discussions with the youth services team to explore shared options for the community centre. And in this report, it says that it's been ruled out due to costs. So as a council, I think we possibly need to take ourselves forward through economy and resources or some sort of different budget sector, because it's not fair on the youths in these two wards that we're still waiting for dedicated youth spaces. So I hope that can be taken on board going forward. I don't know, Mark, if you've got an update, because I think this report might be a little bit out of date, but I could be wrong. Thanks very much.
Mark, can you help out there?
Yeah, I think in terms of the particular relation to adult resource centres, we carried out visits with young people and also with staff who run these services within the areas in Upper Nithsdale, in Kellerholm and in Stewartry as well. And part of the issue is that the facility inside them is actually ideal in terms of what the space that's there, and colleagues in social work have been really accommodating around the option of that. But the problem is that in most cases these buildings are in the outskirts, where it would mean that young people that don't, particularly in the Upper Nithsdale option, where it's up a road where there's no public transport and there's a lack of street lighting, so there was a whole safety aspect that took that position. So I do appreciate when you read it in black and white is the update from the officer, that maybe it looks quite harsh in that way, but it was looked at in a rounded way again. But again, the assurance I give members is I will go back after this and take this forward again further with members in property service. It's not through a lack of will officers, it's through just that as the council's facilities reduce in number, we do have very limited options in these communities around dedicated spaces.
Thank you, Mark. For people that did notice briefly, we had the dreaded blue screen for a while there, but things are back online, and whilst the screen was blue, people could still hear what was happening, and the meeting was still being streamed. Councillor Jimison.
Yeah, thanks, convener. I've still got my green jumper on. I'm still struggling to be 5'5", and I've got short hair. It's probably not on the agenda, but Councillor Lowe did ask the question about positive destinations, and Jim kindly responded. I congratulate the efforts that the education team are doing, and the 95% positive destination is really good. And I know, I was giving Jim an opportunity to expand on it, because I've discussed this with Jim, and what we would like to see beyond that, apart from an exit interview, is the guidance throughout the school year on positive destinations. And I know that the Education Committee are working on this. What is a positive destination? Is it what young people are aspiring to or could aspire to? The administration is relatively simple. Somebody's gone somewhere, so we can tick that box. But how much more can we do for these young people to get the positive destinations that they're capable of? And that probably needs to start through guidance, career advice, subject advice in the curriculum. And I know, to the great credit of the education team, they're working really hard on common timetables to make all the courses available to all pupils. But I think for better outcomes, we need more information on how good these positive destinations are and where they go from that initial positive destination. If we're going to do justice to our young people, and the aspiration in our council themes is that people get to where they want to be. Now, it's a big challenge, but I think throughout our school we should be looking at guidance, career advice, these opportunities that all young people can have, whether it's going to further education, higher education, or apprenticeship. So, but I know that the education are working on that, and it's to their credit they're doing that, but I just wanted to expand on it and allow Jim to explain a wee bit of the work they're doing, because it's not just the council. We've got Skills Development Scotland, we're developing the young workforce, social service. They're all involved in trying to get to a place where young people leave school with the life skills, the qualifications, and the confidence to take a positive destination that's worthy of their abilities.
Thank you, Councillor Jimison. Jim, can you give us an idea of what a positive destination looks like and how we get there?
Certainly, convener. Thank you for that, and thank you for the question, Councillor Jimison. This work started probably a decade ago. This was the Wood Commission, which looked at why it is we've got, I think at the time, 50,000+ young people between 16 and 24 in Scotland who were not in a positive place post-school. The positive story about that is, as a result of that piece of work and the impact on schools, colleges, there has been a significant reduction in that number of young people who are not in any kind of positive destination. I think that then helps us to understand that initially the targets used were fairly binary. It was a single snapshot very soon after school leaving time, I think September snapshot, which then improved significantly, at which point I agree with the point you're making broadly. People started saying, well, okay, if that has been achieved, let's make that a more sophisticated measure. So there was a follow-up, because what can happen is young people can start a course and then within 2 or 3 months can sometimes change their mind or fall out of that course for reasons. And so what we now have is a more sophisticated measure. Now, these are national measures that are included in things like local government benchmarking frameworks. So I think the first point is we need to make sure we do stick with the measures that allow us to be comparable. So our annual participation measure from Dumfries and Galloway in 2023 was 24.9. That was a 1.5% increase on the previous year. That was the highest ever for the region, so we've got an improving picture, and it was an increase on, it was in advance, in excess of the Scottish-wide picture. So we are doing well, we are improving, but we absolutely know there's more to do. I think your point probably then, to move it forward, says, but we need a qualitative look at that. And I think to address that, every single secondary school has a standardised process where a group meets, which, as you say, has got membership from Skills Development Scotland, Developing Young Workforce, Department for Work and Pensions, a wide group of partners. And what that group is there to do is to look at young people at the earliest point when there is a concern that perhaps there might not be a positive destination. So in terms of that qualitative consideration, I think where that is captured is in the stories, the journeys that secondary schools are discussing within these ECG groups of each of these young people. But I do, broadly speaking, take the point about the fact that data which is based purely on quantitative measures can sometimes miss the wider picture. I hope that helps. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Now, I'm looking at the recommendations here, and we've been asked 2.1, consider the progress in the shared action plan for the Dumfries and Galloway Council, the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council is summarised in 4.2 and detailed in the appendix. I think we've done that. 2.2, we have to agree any actions to be continued for future implementation as referenced in 4.7. Now, you know, my view, unless anyone else is otherwise minded, is that any of the outstanding or in progress actions should be continued. Do members agree with that? Yeah, agreed. Thank you. So we've noted 1 and agreed 2. Item 8, Dumfries and Galloway Children's Rights Report 2020 to 2023, report by Head of Education, Quality and Curriculum. The purpose of this report is to seek agreement of the Dumfries and Galloway Children's Rights Report 2020 to 2023 as required by the Children and Young People Scotland Act 2014. Jim Brown, Head of Education, Quality and Curriculum, is present to assist with any operational questions. Do we have any questions? Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chair. My name's Councillor Hill. I have blonde hair, and at the moment I'm wearing a cream and black blouse with black trousers, and I wear glasses. I was part of this group working with the young people and officers to produce this document, and it was a fantastic opportunity to get the voices of the young people within the group. Regarding this, there was a couple of things that came up and some very honest answers in the survey that was done with the children. And so I'm hoping that councillors have taken the time to read through this and appreciate that there's still a lot of work to be done with adults and services on making sure that the rights are respected for the children within all of those services across our whole region, and also teaching adults and children what these rights are and how they should be embedded within the service. But I'd just like to thank everybody on the group for the opportunity to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Is there any further question or comment? Councillor Dashper.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, everybody. Ben Dashper, Stranraer-on-the-Rins. I'm young, brown, dark hair. I think I'm actually the only councillor who's still young enough to vote in youth council elections. Page 42. I think this is just typo, if anything. It says in 2022 there were such and such primary school pupils and such with additional support needs, and it says an X with a coordinated support plan. Can that official number just be inserted in there, because it just says X instead of a figure? Thank you.
Thank you. Can anyone confirm that? Yeah, Jim Brown's confirmed that will happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if there's no further... Councillor Dorward.
Thank you, Convener. And it's remiss of me, I forgot to provide a description. Linda Dorward, one of the councillors for Locker Ward, that's Ward 8 in Dumfries and Galloway, short white hair, blue sweatshirt with white shirt underneath. My question is referring to page 32, 4.6, about priorities, areas for action and continued progression of the Rights Respecting Schools Award. I totally agree with this. And doing some reading about this, I think there are 5,000 schools in the UK do this, and I think in Dumfries and Galloway we have the majority of our schools that are doing it. So I think we need to give ourselves a pat on the back for this, and well spotted by Youth Council elected members and officer working group that we continue this, because it's absolutely vital to do. Can I get some information in terms of when we hope to, well, complete this in terms of where we are and where we are at the moment? That would be quite useful, I think, if that's... If you can't do it off the top of your head, I appreciate that, but it'd be useful to get it later. Thank you.
Jim, do you want to come in on that?
Happy to convene. Yes, I think probably in the actions we've got pretty aspirational projections about making sure schools have progressed. We've left it currently in the hands of schools, saying the expectation is to first register, then get bronze, and then let's see how we progress through that. So I think what I'm loath to do, Councillor, is to, in the complex school improvement planning processes that happen in our 113 settings, to take one single thing, which might not actually be for that particular year the priority for the school based on their own evaluation. But I'll certainly take the point you made and say let's have a look at ensuring that within a reasonable time frame we get all our schools progressing. I think the other point is, of course, it's an award that has got different levels. It has got bronze, silver and gold, and we are progressing well. I'm very glad that you recognise that. Thank you, Councillor, and that I agree the pat on the back is well deserved for those people who've really progressed. But I think we probably need to recognise that that we need to give schools time to make sure they embed this. It's not simply about going as fast as we possibly can to get the award. It's about doing the meaningful work and then let the award happen in its own time. But thank you.
Thank you, Jim. So if there's no further questions, we'll move to the recommendations. Council is asked to consider the background and requirements of the Dumfries. Oh, sorry. Oh, Councillor Hagman.
Apologies, Convener. I've opened my camera on. I appreciate I missed the start of this meeting, and I would just say I'm so sorry to not be with you in person. I think it's a fantastic chance for us to come together with the Joint Youth Council and Full Council. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Councillor Katie Hagman. I'm currently standing on the streets of Edinburgh on the way back from a meeting. But I've got short dark hair, pale blue glasses, and I represent Ward 2, Mid Galloway and Wigton West. So my question really is in regards to the appendix, and apologies if this has been covered elsewhere, but page 47 talks about ensuring non-discrimination in our services. However, if I jump up a paragraph at the top of that page, it says all NHS staff undertake child protection and equality and diversity mandatory training courses. And it's just really a question to confirm, do all D&G Council staff also have that mandatory training covering all those three really important aspects? Thank you.
All staff who work in our schools have mandatory child protection training. That's not all staff within the council more widely, I don't believe.
If I may come back, Convener, I think the fact that it is child protection absolutely is vital within the school estate, but equality and diversity training, we have a range of services that all our citizens, all our young people may encounter. So I guess it's really important to ensure that all our staff have the understanding of that equality and diversity training. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hargan. Stephen Morgan, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Convener. I'm Stephen Morgan, the Council's Chief Social Work Officer. I have almost no hair. What I do is slightly grey, and I have facial hair which is black and white. I'm wearing a grey tie and a grey suit, and I'm very aware that I'm very grey, so apologies for that. Councillor Hagman, in relation to the question, all staff who have access to children and who work with children are given appropriate training in this regard, but not all council staff, because that would be deemed disproportionate. So we do have mandatory training courses that we do on floor and also on a service-specific basis as well. So we do deem that to be appropriate across the services and across the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Lucy, one of the youth councillors, wants to come in.
Hello, sorry to circle back, but this is on the UNCRC rights report. It was agreed in the meeting that we would create an easier and more condensed version of it for young people to read, because obviously it's very important and it needs to be accessible for young people to understand about it. So I just wanted to see when that's due to be made and how it's going to be circulated and made available and promoted to young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy, and I can reassure you it's not just for young people. Jim?
Thanks for that, Lucy. Absolutely right. We've got a one-page accessible summary of this very complex and detailed document. And we've got an accessible short animation with British Sign Language as well. I can't, I'm afraid, give you an exact timeline now, but we are not going to be waiting for very long. I'm talking, within a month or so. But I can come back to you on that if we're going to be delayed in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and I'd also be grateful if you share that with elected members as well. Skye?
Thank you. I'd like to first say that this report seems really promising, and I think it's really important that young people are aware of their rights. But the fear is that a lot of work has been put in to making sure that the staff are aware of supporting young people's rights, and I think it's really important that young people themselves are aware of what that should look like. And in page 88 it says that staff are going to help promote these rights and support children with their understanding of their rights. Top paragraph. I was just wondering if I could get some more information on how that will be carried out.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Skye. I think that's absolutely at the centre of it, and it's interesting you mentioned the point about, yes, it's all well and good that our staff understand this, but it's about young people. I think the vehicle, the main vehicle that we're using is the one Councillor Dorwood spoke to, which is the Rights Respecting Schools process. What I would say is very interesting is when we've done our consultations with young people, it has been tangible when we've got schools that have achieved the higher level rights reporting awards, that the narratives around understanding of rights is that much stronger. So already, anecdotally, we're getting this sense that the work we're doing is the correct work. Now that's really good, because this takes time and effort and resource to make sure we do this. And also it means that we need to now double down on the point Councillor Dorwood made to ensure that all schools are actually progressing effectively with that. So I think that probably is the best answer, to say that's the main vehicle we're using, because then we can get all young people an awareness of their rights. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have any further questions? No? So we can move to the recommendations. So 2.1, consider the background requirements of the Dumfries and Galloway Children's Right Report 2020 to 2023 as set out in paragraphs 4.1 to 4.10. 2.2, note the value and feedback from the elected member, Youth Council and Officer Working Group as detailed in paragraph 4.3 to 4.11. 2.3, scrutinise and agree the Dumfries and Galloway Children's Rights Report 2020 to 2023 as detailed in Appendix 1, including the proposed actions for Dumfries and Galloway Council. And 2.4, agree that Dumfries and Galloway Council will implement a children's human rights approach and will respect, protect, promote and fulfil children's human rights in line with the associated action in Appendix 1. So we're happy to note 1 and 2 and agree 3 and 4. Yep, thank you. Item 9, Dumfries and Galloway Council Youth Work Strategy 2024 to 2029, report by Interim Head of Community Services. The purpose of this report is to seek member approval of the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Work Strategy 2024 to 2029, which will determine the priorities for youth work in our council and how youth work contributes to the learning experience and outcomes of young people in the region and our council plan. Mark Malloy is present to assist with any operational questions. I'll open it to questions and comment. No, we all quite happy? Right, we'll just move straight to the recommendations. Alistair, come in.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's just, obviously this is about children and young people and the youth work, obviously the youth work strategy until 2029. So I was just wondering, obviously there's a forward in it by Councillor Blake, which is great. I was just wondering if there could be like some sort of forward by a young person as well, if that's, you know, it might sort of seems relevant.
Yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea, Mark.
Yeah, I think the reason it's not included, and it maybe is remiss of me that because it was a council strategy was the reason why the forward was by Councillor Blake as chair of the relevant service committee. But it's maybe something we take forward with discussion with colleagues across the council when there is actually plans relating to young people about how the youth council maybe have a role in joint forwards across all plans across the organisation as opposed to just youth work plans.
Yeah, I think it would be very helpful going forward to have some form of narrative from the youth representatives. So if there's no further comment, we'll just move straight to recommendations. So our councillor are asked to, at 2.1, approve the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Work Strategy 2024 to 2029 as summarised in 4.10 to 4.14 and detailed in Appendix 1. 2.2, note the positive involvement of young people and wider stakeholders in the development of the strategy as detailed in 4.8 and in Appendix 2. And 2.3, note that the performance monitoring of the strategy in our council will be reported through the relevant service committee as detailed in 4.15. So we're happy to approve 1 and note 2 and 3. Thank you. Well, now we propose to stop for a brief comfort break. If we could reconvene at 12 o'clock would be ideal. Thank you. So we'll now move on to item 10, which is developing a shared action plan 2024-25 in response to 10,000 Voices report by Interim Head of Community Service. And I'll pass over to Finlay for this part.
Thank you, Convener. So this report provides members with the arrangements for the development of a shared action plan for 2024-25 between Dumfries and Galloway Council and the Youth Council based on the response to the findings of the 10,000 Voices report. Mark Malloy is present to assist with any operational questions, and elected members and youth councillors will be divided between 5 groups that are identifiable by members' labels. All members attending the bullying workshop are meeting online and hybrid, and the other 4 groups will move to one of the breakout spaces. And as previously mentioned, these sessions will be facilitated by a youth issues worker and a ward manager and overseen by the relevant director.
Thank you, Finlay. All members will spend approximately 45 minutes on their themed breakout sessions before coming back together in this hall to feedback a one action to be progressed over the coming year. Following on from the breakout sessions, all groups will feedback their identified action to the wider membership. During the feedback session, members will have the opportunity to comment, commend and scrutinise the proposed actions. Now, I'd like to ask for all members of the bullying group to join the separate Teams link for their breakout discussion, which will be facilitated by Sean O'Toole and Laura Kilty, and will commence once all other groups have left the hall. Now, I'd like to ask all members of the smoking and vaping group to follow Stuart Hamilton and Carla Grant, who are standing at the entrance with their hands up to room F22 upstairs. So, all people from the smoking and vaping group. I'm not seeing anybody with their hands up. There we go. They're over in that corner. Okay, thank you. Now that the smokers and vapors have all left, and I ask for all members of the Diet and Body Image group to follow Fiona Dobney and Zoe Nix Grant, who are standing at the entrance with their hands up to room G31, over in the other corner. Hopefully the leader will not get lost, just fell too far behind. So I now ask all members of the mental health group to follow Scott McMeekin and Paul Chisholm Grant, who are standing at the entrance, again with their hands up. Oh, there they are, hands up over there. Now I'd like to ask all members of the Money, Budgeting and Cost of Living group to follow Ingrid Gamel and Rebecca McClyman, who are standing at the entrance with their hands up to room G609 upstairs. And we will meet up back here after the breakout room sessions. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed your session. I know everyone was. We could probably have done with the rest of the afternoon, to be quite honest. But now we're going to receive feedback from each of the groups about the action they're proposing. So I'll invite the smoking and vaping group to give their feedback. Who's speaking on that?
It's me. I'm Thomas Payne. I am the nominated youth councillor of the LGBT community in the youth council, and I have short brown hair, and I'm wearing the white t-shirt with the youth council logo and a black jacket. So with the smoking and vaping group, we had quite a lot of issues that were presented and quite a lot of solutions that were potentially presented, and it was quite a discussion on which potential action we could put forward. And what we kind of came to terms with was that there's quite a lot of issues that were more focused into education facilities and wider facilities in general, and basically places where young people tended to be caught vaping and smoking. And so we know that that different schools and different facilities, they will have different policies on like the use of vapes and smoke and cigarettes. And so we kind of there was a lot of thought like put into different kinds of things that we could potentially put forward, but what we decided would be a good idea was to have kind of one blanket policy to have across all council buildings and their grounds, which includes educational facilities as well, which is for banning cigarettes and vapes and smoking and vaping in general. But a lot of that is as well in those facilities and educational facilities is having anti-vaping champions for specifically peer education on the harm of vapes and cigarettes and the harmful advertising it could have, specifically with vapes. And that is specifically with those anti-vaping champions, it's specifically for young people to take those roles, because the thing is that with educational facilities, with just teachers teaching about the harms of smoking and vaping, is that young people most likely will just not listen very well with the way that young people are for now in school, especially the younger students, is that they do not have the same relationship with authority as some older people had with when they were in school, and so it's a lot more needed to have peer educators and to have young people who are championing the issues and potential solutions. And that's pretty much what we agreed for.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I'll now invite the Diet and Body Image Group to feedback.
So, hi, I'm Stevie. I have kind of purple reddish hair and a black youth council hoodie on, and I have glasses on. So our idea for diet and body image was to utilise packages and programmes that were available through organisations such as the Mental Health Foundation to deliver like peer mentoring and education around diet and body image, as well as utilising the youth information workers that are inside schools for support with young people and help to deliver group work in schools and assemblies as well. Yeah, that's kind of all we got.
That's not all at all. That's absolutely fine. And so thanks for that, Stevie. And the next group is going to be the mental health group, please.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm one of the MSYPs for Dumfries here. I have long dark hair and a black hoodie with the Youth Council logo on it. I have to give apologies for being greedy because we've came up with 2 actions. The first one is to sign up to the See Me national campaign run by Scottish Association of Mental Health. And then the second one is to develop the, mind my language, develop the Feeling Shit survival kit, including better information for young people and their wider families. When we say wider families, we don't just mean, well, obviously it's wider, so it's not just going to be the parents. It could also be the grannies, uncles, aunties, anyone that they're close to, because obviously some people might be closer to wider family than their immediate family. And they were the two actions.
Thank you, Caitlin. Could I now ask the bullying group for their feedback?
Hello, Lucy Walsh from Nith Ward again. Our action that we came up with was a review of the guidance around bullying with input from police, young people especially, and teachers, and a new approach to bullying, looking at both the bullying victim, looking how we can support them, but also the person who is the bully, and looking at a more restorative and reformative approach which actually addresses the issues rather than just expulsion, and explaining what's right and how to deal with that. And the ways that we've agreed to put that in is through more group work and education in schools, and really address the problems to both the bullying victim and the bully, and one-on-one support for bullying victims. And we'd also like to input more bullying education and awareness in earlier ages in primary school as children are growing up faster and bullying becomes more of an issue. And we'd also like to make more awareness, because this has been brought to the Youth Council before, but a lot more awareness on online modules like Respect Me that have been highlighted as incredibly useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. I'll now invite the Money, Budgeting and Cost of Living group for their feedback.
Hi, I'm Marina Kirk. I am the Ward Youth Councillor for Dean Glen Kens. I have long dark hair. I am wearing a black youth work hoodie with Youth Council badge on it, and I have glasses. Our group discussed in length about the PSE or health and wellbeing or whatever it's classed as in your schools is not consistent across Dumfries and Galloway, and a lot of young people largely found this not useful with the specifics that they taught. The teachers that teach it seem to not be experts on this subject, and we think we need to enhance this for knowledge on money and budgeting. Resources for young people to use could be, we've asked for, we've asked for a possible handbook or some sort of information that young people can read in their own time, as well as more experts on like professionals coming in to speak about money and budgeting or things like that. Sorry, my mind's gone blank. We're asking for more specific things taught in PSE instead of just the basic knowledge that you would already know about, like alcohol and drugs, whatever, but to be more focused on what to do after school, as in how to focus on your money, how to deal with taxes, how to get jobs. And this could be through read it. I think I've basically just repeated myself. Yeah. Sorry, my mind's gone completely blank. Would someone else from our group like to chime in?
Marina, thank you for your comments, and don't worry about it. You've actually, I was in the same group, and you have covered the whole thing. So you really got the thing across. I think we had it down to a pity Jackie here, who is actually going to have to summarise some of these things. She's been taking notes, so I'll just pass over to Finlay briefly just to...
Thank you. Just quickly to say, well done to all the group presenters for feeding back on your workshop groups. It's been great to hear some of the actions that have been proposed.
Thank you, Finlay. We've now got to try and get a summary of the actions here to be proposed to the appropriate committee or service. So I'll open up to any comments or suggestions. Councillor Beretti.
I haven't given a description of myself, so like last time, even less here than last year, yellow jumper, and I'm about 5'8", 5'9". Yeah, the anti-vaping one and cigarettes was very interesting because we're going through the same cycle of events that most of the senior elected members who are over a certain age of 50 or 55 saw in the 1960s and 70s with the predictable results. And I think that's important. We've already seen that, so we know roughly what we can do. But I think it's up to the schools and the individuals and the youth to really take this on board and take possession of it. And if they have to understand the science, then understand the science, but they need to do something because the adults are only going to be able to give the framework of the legality, nothing else.
Thank you, Councillor Beretti. Is there anyone else with any comments? Well,
Stuart Walker, the ward youth councillor for Dean Glenkins. I have relatively long curly hair. I'm wearing the white youth council t-shirt and relatively short as well. But one thing which I noticed with a lot of the different groups was the provision of an online resource for these ones, which I think was a thing such as a link book or in many cases a guide for all of these ones, and that would be very quick to produce for a lot of these ones, even if it's something as simple as just links to different already existing resources, which would save time and money on the creation of new ones.
Thank you. Jackie, do you think you could summarise the 4 recommendations as best you can?
Thank you, Convener. I'll do my best. And correct me if I've got anything wrong, but consider banning vaping and smoking from all council buildings, not just schools. To utilise programmes and establish mentoring services. To review anti-bullying guidance and get input from police, young people and teachers. And enhance teachers' knowledge of money management in particular and expertise in financial and budgeting issues.
I think it was more the budgeting one. It was more about enhancing the current provision. If someone can help me out from my group there, enhancing the current provision and having potentially having an online guide that complemented that. And Councillor Thompson, thank you.
Thanks, Convener. I've got a hat on and I've got blue eyes and 20-something teeth. I think, yeah, so in terms of the summary, I know we're probably agreeing the headlines today, but I think all the groups will have taken a note of probably the encapsulated action, and I'm just, could I suggest that that's effectively, if we're happy to do that, probably agree that that's what gets taken forward in case we get stuck on the words that we say out loud today, because we did do quite a good job, I think, across the groups in terms of getting that written down in a form that's probably easier to take forward. I don't know if that helps, Convener. Thank you.
That definitely helps. And Jackie, you had one of the groups you missed out.
Yes, thank you. I missed the mental health action, which was to provide better info for young people and their families, including their extended families.
So thank you, as Councillor Thompson suggested. Councillor Campbell.
Thanks, Convener. Councillor John Campbell, Nith Ward. I've got grey hair, wear glasses, and I've got a light blue jumper on. I think our spokesperson actually mentioned 2 actions being greedy. I think they're both important in my view. So I would like to propose that those 2 actions go through. I know we try to limit it to 1 action. However, I feel that These are both important. If the second one can't go through, that's maybe something that we could bring a motion to full council next time round. But if we can take the two actions forward, that would be much appreciated by the group. Thank you.
I have to confess, Councillor Campbell, that in the budgeting group we actually combined two actions into one, so that we only presented one. so I don't think there would be a problem bringing them both forward.
I think our group actually agree on a similarity. You know, they do align with each other, but it was kind of difficult to separate the two. But if the two actions can be completed together, I appreciate that. Thanks, Convener.
I'm quite sure they can. Councillor Drysdale.
Thanks very much, Chair. I think Jackie's perhaps alluded to this, so I think it's really important that we accept the contributions that have been made today by all the young people. Thank you, all of you, because it's most interesting, and it's really good for us as councillors to hear it from you, and also the chats we have on the side. But the one thing I think is really important is to acknowledge the really hard work that the education teams do, the teachers, the support teachers, and the youth workers and the youth teams, because it's really pressurising at the moment for everyone in society. We all know that. And I think Jackie's alluded to the fact that this information, hopefully, will be cascaded down to parents and carers, because they also play a responsibility in society for taking care of all of you people in this room until you're of age. So it's important that parents take a role to play as well in helping children and young people to grow up and mature and develop. So hopefully that will happen, and that information that we're taking forward will be cascaded. So thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jackie, for mentioning that.
Thank you. Tom, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to, with the summary of the smoking and vaping group, I wanted to also specifically highlight the anti-vaping champions, and because we thought that that was a very, very important part of our action plan, and how young people should be championing anti-vaping within schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McGregor.
Thank you, Convener. Just very briefly, and thanks very much to all our youth representatives for your contributions today. Our group was tremendous, I have to say, and Gillian has taken away a few points that were raised within our group, so we had an action, but there was also other things that were very much raised as important issues, which the Director is going to take away. And I think what I'd like to see is all the other groups, you'll have had a note of the other things that were discussed, and I appreciate it's hard to pin it down to one, maybe two actions, and can we ensure that that feedback is also fed back to Mark and the Education Directorate to encapsulate other things we can be doing anyway over and above the key actions that we've prioritised. But thank you all very much for your contributions, your stars.
Thank you, Councillor McGregor. Mark?
Thanks, Convener. Just following on from Councillor Thompson's comments, just the assurance to members that following this, the notes from the discussions in all the groups will be combined, and then what we will look to do in that is via the relevant director to assign an officer who has this within their remit to progress each of the actions, and ensuring that, again, as we've done with previous action plans, it's spread across the organisation where the expertise sits, and then that will allow us to report back via the relevant service committees on the progress. So anything that's been discussed in the groups will definitely be captured and will be taken forward if appropriate by the services. So just to assure us that it's not just about that one action, which is essentially for the minute.
Thank you, Mark. And like I say, I think we managed to combine two. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, no, thanks for that assurance. And just for yourself, Chair, I think one of the other key framing of this is that some of the people in our group are keen to be involved in sort of co-designing that process, so that actually the youth council members are actually playing a part in, where appropriate, in terms of design. It's not just the council staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mayo.
Yeah, Chair, when this is written up, I think also every councillor should have the whole thing circulated to them, so that we all see what happened in all the other groups, and it gives us, I think, the opportunity to talk in our communities to organisations and things about some of the things that's been said, especially the youth organisations and things like that.
Thank you, Councillor Mayo. I think we'll take that forward as an action. Councillor Lowe. Lucy.
Hi. One thing, again, on the topic of highlighting certain parts, one thing that I really wanted to highlight about the bullying is that was the moving away from exclusions and focusing on reformation and restoration. While we do those review of the guidance, that was one thing that was really important in our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any further comments? So we'll move on to the recommendations. Councillors are asked to agree at 2.1 to the development of a shared action plan for 2024-25 based on the findings of the 10,000 Voices report as proposed in paragraph 4.4. To 2.2 to the arrangements for the discussion group at today's meeting as set out in paragraph 4.6 on that. 2.3, the actions to be in the shared action plan as proposed in paragraph 4.6.4 and 2.4, a progress report is submitted to the next annual joint council meeting as referenced in paragraph 4.7.3. So we're happy to agree those with the proviso that Mark and his team distill everything and come out with the appropriate forward words and circulate to all members. So any other business deemed urgent by the chairman? The chair not notified of any urgent business today. So I would now invite Finlay, Vice Chair of the Youth Council, to say some closing remarks.
Thank you, Convener. And as we bring today's session to a close, on behalf of all members of Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council, I would just like to begin by thanking governance, youth work services, elected members and council officers for all their hard work in making today possible. Here in Dumfries and Galloway, we continue to build upon the national standard of youth participation and democracy, and your contributions in today's reports and workshops is a testament to your commitment to young people across the length and breadth of Dumfries and Galloway. Today has paved the future, laying the roadmap and steps for improvement of our service provisions over the next 2 to 3 years. Today's rights report recommendations, regional youth work strategy, and the actions agreed and proposed from our workshops really illustrate how far we've climbed the youth participation ladder. As Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council approaches its 5th birthday in the coming months, it's important to celebrate how much has been achieved in a relatively short amount of time. Our partnership has grown, evolved, and strengthened, and that is clear today. And by initiating a rights-based approach to youth engagement, we together can foster a region wherein young people can continue to flourish and grow into the inspiring individuals they wish to be. And today, many of the newly elected members have experienced their first joint meeting, and a successful one nonetheless. So I hope you can continue to work together and progress today's successes in the coming months and build constructive relationships to help shape Dumfries and Galloway into the place we all know it can be. So thank you very much, and I'll now hand back over to the convener.
Thank you, Finlay. I'd also like to thank everyone for their participation in making this joint meeting a success. It's been very positive to hear all the progress that's been made and will continue to be made in the coming year. And I found the discussions in my group, it was fun as much as anything else as well. And I think throughout that we've actually ended up with some actions to go forward that are going to be extremely helpful and positive. As a council, we're committed to following up on these actions, and then we will have a progress report at the next joint meeting, so we can check what's been happening. So I'd like to thank every one of the youth councillors for your commitment, drive and passion, and we look forward to following up with you again and working with you over the coming year. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll close the meeting.